What's up and welcome to the channel. My name is Headshot and thank you guys for joining us. Today we're going to do two small pocket guns here, pistols on the table, head to head. We got the LCP 2 in 380 and the DB9 in 9mm, of course. And these are some of the smallest guns in their respective categories for pocket carry or inside the waistband carry. And I'm going to give you some differences here to look at if you're looking for a small 9 or 380 that you can carry as a backup or primary, and give you the main differences between the two, how they shoot, how they carry, pros and cons. You guys, you know how we do it by now to this point. If you're new, welcome to the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure you guys subscribe and all of that good stuff down below. And really quick, I'd like to thank our patron of this video, Chris B. He is a power patron, been with us for a little while now. And if you'd like to join our awesome community, our link to Patreon is down below. Come over, join the SHOT team. We finally have our shirts made up, which is pretty awesome. A bunch of different tiers, something to meet everybody's needs. And you can get some extra content, polls, all kinds of things we're doing over there. Giveaways, of course. So come over and check us out. Let's go ahead and get started. So these two guns are very close. Like I said, they're some of the smallest micro guns in their classes, and they offer very different things when it comes to certain features and things like that. So we're just going to go throughout this, and like I said, this is not like a detailed every single spec and feature kind of video. We're going to compare these two guns against each other. Remember, we have standalone videos for both of these if you need to know something more about them. Let's go ahead and get started with just size. So the LCP2, very tiny, all right? I don't have the biggest hands. LCP2 fits basically in my hand. If I put it in my hand, I have 1.5 fingers on the grip, okay? These are not target guns. It's not something you're going to take your buddies to the range and say, man, we're going to shoot 1,000 rounds today out of your LCP2, because your hand will be hurting for sure. But for their intended purposes, very small. LCP2 380 6+1 capacity. It's going to come with one mag, but it's also going to come with an extra base plate extension. All right, so you can get maybe another half of a finger onto that extension there. Barrel length 2.75 inches. Overall length is 5.1 inches. Unloaded weight is 10 ounces. Really nothing. Width is 0.75 inches right there. Height 3.7 inches. And man, you can find these things. We have links all the time. Not here on YouTube, but we have links on our other social media to these things all the time, and amazing prices. Okay, you can get these things really cheap, and they come with the pocket holster. Okay, which is pretty cool. DB9 Gen 4. All right, recently reviewed this gun, and for another cheaper option on the table, this one is pretty impressive actually, especially for the size. 6+1 capacity, 3.1 inch barrel on this one, 5.7 inches overall length, 13.4 ounces unloaded. So it is 3.5 ounces more, but you really don't want it that much lighter than that, because 9mm in a gun even like this, we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the shooting, you feel it. All right, so 0.89 inches wide, and an overall height of 4 inches with the standard base plate, and then in this configuration it's 4.5 inches. So you know, numbers are one thing, and they definitely do mean something. But let's put them up slide to slide. You can tell that little bit of extra length there in the DB9 doesn't make too much of a difference for our configuration, unless you're doing pocket carry, of course. It may make a little bit of a difference. Width-wise, you're not going to notice a whole lot. On the DB9, I can definitely, with this mag, at least get all my fingers on the handle. So if that means something to you, on the grip there. But if we take them and just put them on their backs here, right now I have the extended base plate in. I'm going to show you how to swap this over real quick and just give you a better idea. But extended, this is 4.5 inches. Standard, this is 3.7 inches. Keep in mind, you can get extended magazines. I know for the LCP2, and I believe for this one as well, but we're just talking about standard configurations, because you start talking about aftermarket parts or extended mags, and that just changes everything. So we're just going to keep it factory options. But here you can tell there is a significant difference. And where this is really going to make a difference, because these guns are still very short in the grip length, is pocket carry. All right, so you take something like the LCP2 and you put it in a pocket. This can pretty much fit in any pocket. Now, keep in mind, we have a link to Tolster and Vetter. Vetter makes holsters for these things, pocket holsters. You click on that link and you can find something pretty cool for this, or inside the waistband if you want to do that as well. You know, this is just what it comes with, but just to give you an idea, if you carry that, it's going to be very comfortable. All right, and if you get an inside the waistband holster for this, or even this, again, it's going to be very comfortable to carry. One thing about the LCP2 in this configuration, if you are a lady and you're carrying inside the waistband, Mrs. Headshot can actually attest to this. Something like this with this short of a grip, you can almost hide even with more form-fitting clothing, especially like appendix carry. So there's definitely some options here. But you can also do the same thing with the DB9. So by just taking a simple, you know, just a pin, it would be better to have a punch or something to do that with, but it doesn't take much to take this base plate off of this mag. Some mags are a little bit more of a bear, but not this one. So you just slide that over. Now you have the standard, all right, grip. You can see my pinky's hanging off a little bit, no big deal. And now this is 4 inches, this is 3.7 inches. So 0.3 of an inch difference. And now you're going to make this much more manageable for pocket carry, or again, if you're a lady or you definitely can't print. You're in a situation where printing is, you know, you can't run that risk. Well, then there you go. All right, so two very small profile guns that can fit in a lot of different roles. All right, let's talk about the features here of both these guns. Front and rear slide serrations on the LCP2. Everything is minimal in this gun, including the sights, which are actually milled into the slide, okay? So again, this is one of those things where this gun, I definitely recommend practicing with this gun. Make sure that you are hitting your target because you don't have any adjustment here. You know, you can paint these and kind of pick up a little bit better sight picture if you do that. But again, it's not a target gun. It's a, you know, I need to defend my life now kind of gun, up close and personal type of deal, okay? But you do have a very nice grip texturing, which I appreciate that. All right, rough texture finish. We're, of course, going to do some up-close pictures for y'all, but they roughened up this texture. So with a small gun like this, a lot of people tend to think, man, a small gun, that's going to be perfect for my wife or my girlfriend, whatever. Maybe not the case, because now you have a really small and light gun with a pretty potent round, okay, even in 380. So that tends to make these guns very snappy. So it's nice they put a rougher texture finish to at least hold and allow you to grip the gun a little bit better. Slide stop, you do have that on this gun, which is nice. So you can lock the slide back to the rear, and then you have your takedown pin right there. And no adjustments on the back strap or anything like that, okay? It is what it is. On the DB9, all right, you're going to get a few more features here. Front and rear slide serrations. The serrations are definitely a little bit more aggressive. One thing Mrs. Headshot had an issue with a fully loaded mag is getting the slide all the way back to the point where it will catch that round and chamber that round. All right, so again, the smaller guns, they're small and they're convenient, but you're going to have some nuances like this right here. You have a stiffer spring to be able to cycle this gun reliably, and that's something that they have to do on this gun, okay? So a rougher texture and grip. Again, if you're carrying this inside the waistband, remember you probably want to have an undershirt, because not this one so much. The grip texturing is subtle enough where it's not going to tear your skin up like a 365 or a M2.0 Shield, but it is rougher, all right, which lends to a better grip, especially when your hands are sweaty and things like that. Where this gun really shines compared to the LCP2 is in the sights. So you have a standard 3-dot arrangement that is compatible with all Glock sight options. So you have a ton of options that you can put on this gun, and that hands down is better than the LCP2 arrangement. Magazine release, not reversible on either one. One thing I really like the Diamondback does is they have their American flag logo right there in the grip, which I think looks pretty cool. You have the increased velocity and power of the 9mm. All right. To some people, that's a big deal. Okay. And, you know, that's just one of those things. No rail or anything on these guns. I'm sure there's companies out there that make rail adapters, so if you wanted a light or a laser or anything like that, I'm sure it's something you can get, definitely for the LCP2. And the Diamondback's been out for a while too, so you could probably do that. Both of them US made. As far as materials, Ruger uses their glass-filled nylon, which is a polymer lower pretty much on both of them. Slide and barrel is alloy steel, and the sight's integrated, and it's all blued on the Ruger. All right, and then coming over to the DB9, stainless steel slide and barrel on this one. All right, let's talk about breakdown here really quick, and then we will we're going to go to the range. It's not going to be a lot of range video because, like I said, we have videos on both. So just to show you breakdown on the DB9, it's simple. I'm going to show you the trigger after the shooting part of the review. We're not going to do a ton of shooting in this video. Like I said, we've already done shooting and full reviews on both guns, but you're going to pull the trigger, cheat back on the slide, pull these little tabs right here down. You got one on each side, and it's going to come right off. So if you want to clean it or anything like that, single captive recoil spring, striker fired, of course. Ruger, a little bit more involved, but it's not too bad. So you're going to pull the trigger. This one's got an internal hammer, but the trigger one's pretty good. And what you want to do is you just want to take just something like a, you know, a little flathead or something, and just cheat back on the slide just a little bit. And then this little push pin is just going to come out. Of course, you don't want to scratch up the gun, but it's going to pull out like that. Pin comes out, slide comes off. Single captive. Actually, it's a dual recoil spring. 2 springs in there. Guide rod is not captive on this one. Barrel, all that good stuff. Both guns are dirty, of course. We just shot them recently. And then right there you can see your little internal hammer, okay? But it kind of pulls like a striker fired, so it's not a long double action like you typically get, or like you at least got on the first one. The first LCP, which was not even an interest to me because of the trigger. So you want to make sure everything's lined up, and I believe you got to pull the trigger back to its starting position. It's going to make it a little bit easier here. Pull it back like that. Slide goes on. You're going to pull it back to that same position. There's a little spring right in there, so you want to push down on that and push the pin in. And then there you go. Not too bad, just a little bit more involved on the LCP2. And then on the Diamondback, like a traditional striker fire gun, you're going to take it, bring it back, it locks into place on its own. Okay, so let's do a little bit of shooting here. Like I said, we're going to show that to you. We were drawing out of our holsters on this one, or you know, I was drawing out of the holster to kind of give you an idea, because that's what these guns are for. So I wanted to show you a little bit of that, and then when we come back, we'll talk about pros and cons on each. We'll talk about the triggers and our overall opinion, which one we like best. We will see you guys in a minute. All right, so if you ever want to talk about a range day where it's, you know, not a whole lot of fun, but I do it just for you guys because you need the information. Neither one of these guns are a ton of fun to shoot. It's just what it is. They hurt your hand after a while. A lot of recoil, a lot of felt recoil really with both of them. Let's pull the triggers and show you the triggers here really quick. On the LCP2, you have that dingish right there, little safety deal. Pull it up here so you guys can see it. Little safety tab. Get to that wall. It breaks. And the reset. Right there. Let's pull it real quick. Just make sure. 5 pounds, 6 ounces. Let's try it again. And this one does have some rounds to it, so that was 7 pounds. I kind of got off kilter a little bit there. Let's try one more time for good measure. 5.5 pounds, okay. Not a bad trigger. Definitely a big improvement over the original LCP. DB9. It's got a pretty good trigger on it too. 6 pounds, 14 ounces. Let me show you what the trigger looks like. No safety dingus, so all the safeties are internal. Get to the wall. And it starts to stack as you pull it. So what I mean is it's getting a little heavier as I get to that wall and pull it all the way through. So it hits. A little bit heavier all the way through, and then it breaks. Now keep in mind with these self-defense type of guns, of course you want to practice with them, but the chances of you noticing that, if you're trained up with this firearm, the chances of you knowing that in a self-defense situation, like, oh my God, my trigger is stacking when I was trying to protect my life, you're not going to notice that. But those are things I like to point out in a video because that may make a difference to you in purchasing the gun. So there's two sides to this. That little bit of stacking and maybe even that little bit, I mean, it's a good 1.5 pounds heavier, so that may throw off your shots enough to where you go with this. But the idea is to hopefully, you know, you can get to a range where you can rent both of them and see which one fits your needs best. But if you practice, you can of course do good with either one, like you just seen. I mean, both guns for what they are decent and they're accurate as long as you are doing your part with them. All right, so that's pretty much what it amounts to. Felt recoil on both. I touched on that just a little while ago. The smaller you go, the more recoil you're going to have. You have less weight to soak it up, you know, soak up that recoil, and they're just not a lot of fun to shoot. And both guns start to affect me in different ways. So when I start shooting the LCP2 after a while, I start to really feel it in the back of my hand. All right, so I'm trying to keep that recoil under control. And because there's not a lot to hold on to here, and you have, again, a pretty potent round, it starts to affect me kind of in the back of my hand in this area. All right. And then on the DB9, where I really feel it is in my palm. So now I'm stepping up to the 9mm with a gun that's only 3.5 ounces heavier, which, you know, can make a big difference, but it really... compared to just say a Shield or a PPS or a SIG 365, where those guns are 6, 7, 8 ounces heavier, you know, this gun, you really feel it. So you will pay for that decreased weight. You're going to pay with something. There's always a trade-off. There is no perfect gun that gives you ultimate capacity and, you know, all this kind of stuff without making you pay with something. And with this, it's comfort. So as soon as I shoot the first round, I feel it in the palm of my hand. It's not like I can't get through it. Obviously, I can get through it. But I just want you to realize that these smaller guns take practice, they take work, but it can be done. They're just not a lot of fun to shoot at the range. Again, that's not what they're for, but my job is to tell you what they're good at and what they're not, and any areas that I see may affect you. So that's what it is. But both guns are good for their intended purposes. All right, pros and cons. This is going to be a little bit different because I'm really doing pros and cons with the two guns compared to each other, not necessarily all of their pros and cons. So again, I ask you, go over and check out the standalone reviews on these guns. Pros on the LCP2, extremely light. I mean, super light. Almost anybody can carry this gun and be comfortable with it. All right, pretty much no any type of clothing or anything like that. You know, Miss Headshot, of course, she wears tighter shirts than me, tighter clothing in general, and she can carry this gun without a problem. So very small, very light, very concealable. Integrated sights. So everything is integrated into the gun, including the sights. So there's less chance of you snagging up on any of this stuff, which is good. Grip texturing is nice. The trigger is really nice, especially compared to that original LCP, and the price is right. So for a backup type of gun, or maybe even a primary carry, you know, a $200 gun, $250 gun, that's a really good price, and that's something that a lot of people can afford. And Ruger is known for that. They're known for giving high quality value with their firearms. Very well respected. Very good customer service from my experience. And overall, for what they were trying to do, there's a lot of good things with this gun, including the company themselves, which we work with, and we really enjoy working with Ruger. Diamondback pros. You have a gun that's 13 ounces chambered in 9mm. To me, the pros on this gun is the fact that they were able to get such a small frame gun in 9mm. It's been reliable since we've had it. All right, we keep shooting it, and it's been very reliable for us. And that 9mm compared to the 380 is just better. All right, I don't think there's any question really about that. The questions come at 9, 40, and 45. That's where people start arguing. I'm not doing that here, but I can tell you that 9mm is better than 380, okay? The sight options, definitely better. Easier to pick up. It's just a much easier gun to shoot, and you have a lot of options. I love the beaver tail in the back, so that kind of keeps the slide away from your hand. You can see how that rides up in my hand. It's got a very low bore axis, which is good. Trigger is not bad. Not as good on the LCP2, but it's not bad. And the grip texturing is good. All right, so not overly aggressive, but aggressive enough to whenever you're shooting, it doesn't feel like it's going to come out of your hand. Overall, I think the Diamondback DB9 is a pretty good choice and one of the smallest 9mm. So if you have to have 9mm, this is one of the smallest options out there. And from what I've seen, this gun has a lot going for it, but it also has some cons. All right, and one of those cons being compared to the LCP2, I don't think the trigger is nearly as good. Also, this one trying to chamber a round, especially Mrs. Headshot trying to chamber that round. Definitely not as easy. And just the overall shooting, especially on Mrs. Headshot part. She was actually carrying this gun for a while. And after our last shooting trip, she decided that she was going to start carrying something else. She actually went back to the Glock 42 because it is so snappy. And again, you're going to pay whenever you go down in size and weight and all that. This much you're going to pay. And she did the smart thing. She said, hey, I'm not carrying this gun. The price on this one is actually really good too. I don't know if I mentioned that. Cons on the LCP2, the grip is small, okay? So again, you got a really small grip. It's very convenient, but it is even smaller than the DB9, all right? And again, it's hard to shoot, and you need some rounds, some practice to get good with this. The sights on this are, they suck, okay? That's just all there is to it. Slide serrations do what they need to do. This gun is a little bit easier to manipulate as well, all right, even with the small size. But overall, getting to the magazine release, messing with the gun and manipulating the gun, I should say, is definitely an easier process, I think, on the LCP2 than it is on the DB9. One thing I don't like on the DB9 especially is this magazine release. So when you push that in, see how slow the gun is to react to that? I don't like that. Slide stop is better on this gun. But again, you have a stiffer spring. It's just the manual of arms on this gun is a little bit stiffer, even though it is a little bit bigger all the way around. All right, and both guns being very concealable, all right, in their respective classes. Again, if you're going for a backup gun, to me, the LCP2 is going to be a better option because it gives you everything in a smaller package, in a gun that even with the sights and everything, it has a better trigger. Personally, Mrs. Headshot and I both agree. I think the LCP2 is a better shooter. I think it's easier to shoot. And in a backup role, I think it's a better gun. If this is your primary gun, you're like, hey, I just need one that a really small gun I have to carry. I trust 9mm more to protect my life. So right off the bat, I think the caliber thing for me shifts my decision over the DB9. But I look at these guns more as in a backup role or in a role that you can't print, you really have to have a deep concealment type of gun. That's how I look at these, really. So I think the LCP2 for both of us is a better option. It's a better gun. It's a better shooting gun for us personally. I don't have a problem with the DB9. I think it's all right, you know, but just collectively, LCP2 does a lot of things really well, and it's smaller. It's just going to take some practice with both of them, to be honest with you. I just personally think that with the amount of recoil the 9 delivers, this gun is just not. It could almost be a little bit heavier just to soak up some more of that recoil. All right, and I think that may have been some of the issues that Mrs. Headshot was having with her shot placement. I like the LCP2 though, and a deep concealment type of roll. That's the gun I like. But again, you can do it. You can do it with both guns. They just take a lot of practice. I can't stress that enough. So we like the LCP2. I of course want to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. Let me know, and make sure if you're a Power Patron or up, look for your special outro coming right after this. We will see you guys in the next one, and as always, hold them down.